Ezekiel, and it's a pleasure to get to communicate with you via this YouTube recording. For those of you who have been following this channel, you know that it's about divine guidance. Earlier on, in earlier recordings, I set the scene to provide a context in terms of divine guidance. For today, I want to share an experience, an example of how God has led me, and I hope it will bless someone. And I hope you too, you are either experiencing divine guidance in your life, or you'll begin to experience it, or you will learn how to experience it. Now, let me share my experience, and then I will give an invitation to you. What happened, and this one happened several years ago, it concerned, the right of stay. I am here in the UK, and, I was granted right to stay in this country legally. But how it came to be is that I was in the country minding my business, and I had the word dry ground. Now, I had it in my spirit, not in my mind. Now, divine guidance, comes from your innermost being. God speaks to you in your spirit, and then sometimes you hear it in your mind, but it comes via your spirit. Now, when God leads me, I know and I can discern his voice, and I knew that this phrase was coming from God. It will come strongly, and sometimes it comes with a sensation that there's no mistake about it. So I had divine guidance several times. Each time I walk into church, I'll hear dry ground. Each time maybe a service is going on, I'll hear the phrase dry ground. Now, I knew about dry ground when the children of Israel, were left Egypt and they were going to Canaan, and Moses led them, and God parted the sea, and the Bible tells us that the children of Israel passed on dry ground. So I kept hearing dry ground, several times. I could say probably more than 50 times. It kept coming. So God was onto something, but I just didn't, understand, what that guidance was about until it came to pass. So I thought it was something to do with church, and I didn't connect it with my right to stay. And what transpired was that for me to apply to continue my stay in the UK, it was such that it was tough and difficult that I was not entitled, to be granted, permission to stay. In those days, it was tough. I did not meet all the requirements, but I applied. Somehow I applied, and then I got approval within a short time. No difficulties, no questions asked. And in those days, what used to happen is that you first apply, and then if they approve, they will write to you to say, we've given you approval, now bring your passport and we'll stamp it. And so when I took my passport to be stamped, then the people that were to stamp the passport said that I was supposed to meet certain criteria, I was supposed to do certain things, but I didn't. And so they were stuck. But, the government had already given me the approval. And so they had no choice. So they stamped my passport. It was then I connected that that message of dry ground that I used to hear was connected with this process. It was God that created a dry ground for me to pass. And, after that incident, I stopped hearing the word dry ground. So that's one way God has led me. And God has been faithful to me. He has helped me. He will always prompt me. And these days, I get the promptings more frequently. And it is my desire that you too, you should get, divine guidance in your life. The way God leads you may not be exactly the way He leads me. Whichever way He leads you, that's the most important thing. We want you to get to a position where you can hear from God. Now, what pains me most is that many Christians, they have to wait for their pastor to say, this is what God is saying. They have to wait for the big man of God there to say, this is what God is saying. No, God wants to communicate with you directly so that nobody will deceive you. Now, if God tells you something and later a big man of God confirms it, then you say, yeah, God said that to me. It agrees with my spirit. Yeah, that way you'll not be deceived. Some big men can make a mistake. And so if you can hear directly on your own, then it helps you to avoid making a mistake if somebody tries to mislead you. So I encourage you to keep coming back to this channel, keep liking the videos and subscribe, and I hope to come back to you, another time. Thank you so much for your time. And let me pause for now. Bye-bye for now.